How would you like to prophesy, to speak, to be heard in your community, in your state, on the news, to be on TV with a message? Well, I'm going to teach you today how to feed the beast. This is the voice of resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
We do a daily television show. You're watching it right now. And in the media world, whether it be television, radio, newspaper, and now internet, there's an expression: we've got to feed the beast, or the beast must be fed. What that means is that news media, especially since the advent of 24-hour news cycles, where there's just constant need for news on CNN, Fox, etc., that it's a monster that must be fed. It needs news. And you'll notice sometimes when there's a drop in things that are happening nationally or internationally that seem to be of weighty importance, that they'll do human interest stories, or they'll talk about a bear that wandered through a neighborhood, or they'll talk about some feel-good thing that happened. A little old lady who was in dire straits, some kids raised money for her and gave her this check so that she could buy tires for her car and groceries for her cupboard. The point is, the beast must be fed. And you can be a part of the feeding frenzy. Now, it's kind of a mutually abusive relationship. And let me use some of what's in the news today to make my point. How you can be involved in becoming a part of the debate, and how you can be involved in setting the debate. Edward Snowden strikes again. All right, that's one of the headlines, because he worked with the Washington Post and gave them about 160,000 emails. You can find this online. And the Washington Post was given this cache of data that the NSA was looking at. All right, they were after certain bad guys, but as they spread the net for these bad guys, they brought in, if my reading of the story is correct, over 10,000 Americans who had absolutely nothing to do with terrorism. Nothing. Okay. So the NSA goes through all these emails, and some of them are of children, mommies kissing babies, some of them are love letters, some of them are about heartache, some of them are about betrayal, some of them are about illicit things, some of them are about heartbreak, poetry, mundane analysis of life, just on and on. Life online, life in cyberspace. So the NSA keeps it all. They didn't delete any of it. They read it. They showed, Snowden showed the Post how many NSA people logged on to read the private correspondence of people who had no connection whatsoever to terrorism. None. All right? This really is Big Brother. All right, so that's in the news. You'll be hearing about it on talk radio, etc. Obama is Big Brother. But it's not enough for us to wring our hands. And maybe it's not enough for you to just feel bad or even to blog, but you'd like to be somebody who's on a talk radio show or who's on your local evening news. How do you get there? Feed the beast. Give them something newsworthy. So let's just take the Snowden example. This is something you could actually do this week. If you've got a federal building in your area of any kind, or your U.S. Senator or your U.S. House member has an office, a local office, go there. All right, that's number one. Go there for 1 hour and get 6 friends. 10 would be better. 15 would be awesome. And then make signs, hand paint them, or put labels on them. But they don't have to look like the AFL-CIO produced them and they're, flawless. There's something gritty. There's something earthy about local people. So you make signs that say, Barack Obama is a traitor. The NSA is Big Brother. Stop the spying. We call on Congressman so-and-so to end PRISM. PRISM is one of the programs that is spying on all of us. So, all right, so let's say that you're going to have it on Thursday at 11 in the morning. On Wednesday morning, send out a press release to your local television stations and your local newspaper. Well, how do you do that? Call up the station. Say, could I please have the newsroom? Somebody will get on the phone and say, how can I send you a press release? And they're either going to give you an email address or a fax number. More than likely, it'll be an email address. So you send them the email that you've typed up. What does your press release say? It says, local residents gather to call on Congressman Smith to end NSA spying. All right? And that beast has to be fed. Your local news station has got to have news that night. They've got a block of time they've got to fill. And if it's a slow news day, there's not a lot of killings or bank robberies in your area, that might be just the ticket. They might say, you know what? Send people out. Let's cover this. And so you send out the press release, 200, 250 words typed out saying what you're going to do, why you're going to do it, what you want done. You send them the press release. Then 20 minutes later, you call back and say, did you get the press release? And they'll say, oh yeah, it's right here. And say, okay, well, we're going to be out there with a group of people tomorrow at Congressman so-and-so's office demanding that he vote to suspend PRISM. Hope that you can join us. And if you'll do this, and the beast needs to be fed, you can be the person on the evening news that looks into the camera and says, our government has betrayed the Constitution and is involved in illegal activities against U.S. citizens, and we want our congressman to fight to stop it. That's called a soundbite, okay? Now suddenly you're reaching 10,000 or 100,000 people in their home on the nightly news, and you are defining the debate. You are prophesying. You're being a public advocate on something that's in the news right now. And if you do it consistently, you might find yourself at the helm of an organization or an ad hoc committee in your community that's making an impact and driving the debate and spreading the truth. I'll be right back. God bless you.
Hey, everyone's been asking me, when's Unstoppable coming out on DVD? Well, it's here. And I have created my own deluxe signature version of Unstoppable that contains not only the movie, but over 5 hours of additional curriculum and study guides for your family. It's perfect for your homeschool, educational facility, small group Bible study, and family devotions. And I'm going to share with you some of the spiritual warfare that surrounded the release of this film. This box set also includes extended scenes, new music videos, the inside scoop on the whole Facebook controversy. So what are you waiting for? I made this special version with my family in mind, and I know your family will be blessed by it too. Unstoppable 2.0 Deluxe Signature Version, available only here at KurtCameron.com. I can't wait for you to experience what's inside.
A 4-year-old came across the border from Mexico to America unaccompanied. There are now reports of dozens, maybe scores of people carrying very infectious diseases, including tuberculosis. There is one report of 500 people a day being brought in buses and then let go. Obama is orchestrating this crisis. There's no doubt in my mind. That way he can intervene and be the hero. And if Republicans want to stand against it, then they're the villain. Right? This is all political, using these poor souls as fodder. But what's the end game? And how can you be involved in the end game? Now, remember, the beast, television news, radio news, local newspaper news, the beast needs to be fed, all right? And you'll notice that a lot of your local news these days is piped in from the outside. That's because of budget cuts locally, and oftentimes because there's nothing locally that's going on that they deem newsworthy. Well, you could provide that. You could be the local news that's covered in your newspaper. So let's look at the immigration crisis. Do you think a wall should be built? Do you think that a border wall should be across our southern border so that we can at least stop this flood of illegal immigrants and protect our border? Okay? If you believe that, do you want to have a part in the debate? Not just in your living room or at your church or at your civic club, but in public. Well, if you want to be a part of the debate, the way you can be involved in this mutually abusive relationship, which I call my relationship with the press, is give them something newsworthy. I invite you to do a news search of my name. Put my name in quotes. Go back as many years as you want. You will see that, well, I've been on 60 Minutes, 60 Minutes 2, 48 Hours, ABC, NBC, CBS Nightly News. I've been interviewed by Oprah. I've been interviewed by Donahue. I've been on Hannity and Combs, and then Hannity, and on and on and on and on. A simple numeric reality is that I have been covered more in the press than virtually any pro-life leader in American history. Without question, I would be in the top 5, okay? In the top 5 Americans who have been covered in the media in America in the last 30 years. Been interviewed personally by Dan Rather. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So I know what I'm talking about. And I would like you to have your moment where you're defining the debate, where you're being covered, where you're driving the agenda, where you're the news story that's in the paper in the morning, and then that's what the local talk show guys are talking about. And maybe they invite you on the show to be on for 5 or 10 minutes to tell what's going on. What did you do this for? So we see what's happening. To come back to immigration. We see that we have dawdled and not built a fence. We've not protected our southern border. And now we are literally being overrun by millions and millions of illegal immigrants. The Democratic Party wants to basically give amnesty and citizenship and working papers. And now big corporations who want cheap labor are saying, yes, it's time for immigration reform. It's not the average worker. It's not the average Republican, not the average working Democrat who wants this. But it's our corporate lords who want cheap labor. They closed down our manufacturing and they sent it to the Pacific Rim. They sent it to the Pacific Rim, closed down so many of our manufacturing bases. But now all this cheap labor is coming in, and they'd like to have some of that cheap labor. They don't have to pay those illegal immigrants what they have to pay auto workers in Detroit or in Flint, Michigan, let's say, okay? So you're sitting here, you're watching all this, and you're fed up with it. Have a protest, have a demonstration, and a press conference in front of your U.S. Senator's office or in front of your U.S. House of Representatives office. Go through the steps that I've told you. Write a 250-word press release. Type it on an email. Explain what it is that you're doing, what time. We'll be there Thursday at 11 a.m. Here's the address of where we're going to be. Here's my phone number if you want to contact me, okay? And you send the press release and say, we're going to be there at 11 o'clock on Thursday morning demanding that Congressman so-and-so vote to build a fence on our southern border. We are being overrun by illegal immigrants. We are in danger of infectious diseases. We don't know how many of those coming over the border are Muslim terrorists. I mean, make your case and then have your demonstration, have your gathering in front of the congressman's office and have your sound bites ready, nice, concise, 10-second or 12-second newsworthy clips where you say the truth that we are being overrun by illegal immigrants, and if they are giving voting rights, then America as we know it will cease to exist. That's your soundbite, okay? That's your soundbite. And you'll be on the news. And it'll be these local angry residents that want the border protected. And you can be a part of the debate. You don't just have to watch it going on. You can be a part of it. You can drive the debate. You just have to be willing to be out there and in front of people. And if you'll feed the beast in this mutually abusive relationship, I say that as a joke. You give them something worth covering, they cover you, okay? They might like you, they might hate you, but they're still gonna cover you because they need the news. And if you do something newsworthy, you will get covered. You want to discuss immigration with tens of thousands of people? Do what I'm telling you, and you'll drive the debate in your community. My wife and I, for 5 years, have been grinding our own wheat and baking our own bread from scratch. Within 2 hours, you can have fresh wheat in your hand and then piping hot bread come out of the oven. The most nutritious and delicious bread you will ever have. And we do it for under $1 a loaf. Call Paula's Bread and find out about this grain mill and the mixer and how it can save you money and change your life. What is the purpose of righteous government? And when is it appropriate for people to revolt against their government? I answer these questions and many others in my book, The Sword, which I wrote when I was a federal prisoner. Rob Shearer, the owner of Greenleaf Press, says this is one of the 10 most important books that a Christian can read today. If you want a book that is timely and timeless in its principles regarding government and revolution, get a copy of The Sword. Did you know that JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, beat Richard Nixon in 1960 by about 100,000 votes in the popular vote? Did you know it was that close? I mean, you think about that. That's an average of what, about 1 vote per precinct or something? We're already talking presidential politics. Hillary is the presumed front runner. I mean, she is the front runner for the Democratic Party and the presumed nominee should she decide to run. Vice President Biden would love to be the next president, and he's so far behind Hillary, he couldn't catch up to her if he had rockets on his feet. But Hillary is vulnerable. And if you would like to be involved in trying to derail Hillary, let me tell you some ways you can do it. Now, she's in the news. Her book has been a colossal flop. She's gotten in interview situations where she had to backtrack on whether or not they were broke and what her responsibility was in Benghazi and how sorry she was. So that didn't go so well. But the simple fact of the matter is, if you're a Democrat, you love Hillary, you're not going to buy the book because you want bread and circuses, right? I mean, come on. If you support Hillary, you want circuses. You don't want all that intellectual stuff that she put in that book. Give me free stuff. I don't want to have to read something. I just want to be able to sit in front of my TV and watch. Yeah, that was great. Anyway, enough being unkind to people. But if you're suspect of Hillary and you'd like to see her defeated, okay, get in on the action. The beast must be fed, right? I've been using the last few days, if you're just watching this one episode, to talk to you on how you can become a part of the debate in your community through the news. You could be on television, you could be in your newspaper, you could be on local radio stations. You just have to do something that's newsworthy. So, how can you drive the debate with Hillary? Well, you have to do a little bit of research, but the simple way to do it is this. Go to the local Democrat headquarters in your community, all right, with 6 or 10 or 20 people, friends, okay, people that you can call and say, look, I need you to join me. We all don't like Hillary, right? Yeah, we don't want her to be president. All right, let's go down and let's hold up signs that say anybody but Hillary, or we don't want Clinton Part 2, or Hillary is a baby killer. Put that on your sign because she supports the murder of unborn babies via abortion. Or say, to vote for Hillary is a sin against God. To vote for Hillary is a sin against innocent blood. To vote for Hillary is a sin against babies. Or a sign that says, no Christian can in good conscience vote for Hillary. Okay? If you do that, and you do the steps properly, you will be covered in your local news 8 times out of 10. What do you have to do? Pick a time, 2 days out, right? A location, preferably the Democratic headquarters in your area. Pick pick the news outlets that you've got to contact. Call them up. Say, hi, I'm Bob Smith, or I'm Mary Jane Smith, and we're going to hold a protest against Hillary in front of the Democratic headquarters, and we hope you come and cover us. Where do I send a press release? So in the press release, 200, 250 words, you put the time, the location, what you're doing, why you're doing it, a few quotes about how bad Hillary is, what your signs will say, and they'll give you the email address. You send it, And then you call back a half an hour later and say, did you get my press release? They'll say yes. Say, I hope that you can be there tomorrow. It's going to be really good. And you go and you hold your press conference. You hold your protest. You have the signs. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Hillary has got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Hillary, just say no. And give them some footage, give them a few sound bites, and you can be a part of a message that wakes up people's conscience. I mean, do you realize how many Catholic Christians and how many evangelical Christians voted for Barack Obama? Do you realize how many tens of millions of the same exact people are poised right now to vote for Hillary? Even the crickets cry out against this. It's the joy of doing a segment on TV outside here. All right. Please be a part of the fight. Don't just watch it. Be a part. I'll be right back. Does our Lord Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, have authority in the political realm, the judicial realm, economics, education? The answer is yes. And does he want his servants to be the leaders in those realms? Again, yes. If you want to learn how you can be a leader in the power bases of America, get the series, Taking Back the Gates. We have put together what we call an online university for you. Now that's a highfalutin way of saying that we have a pretty significant library of material, books, tapes, videos that are there for you for free. Why are we doing this? Because America is desperate for new leaders, and because this material could help you to become the leader that you and God want you to be. Check it out and enjoy it. Where have all the protests gone? Where has all the fire gone? Part of it is being dissipated in cyberspace. I was a child in the 60s and in the 70s, and my parents were very politically active. They were involved in some protests. And I watched the evening news with my mom and dad, night after night after night. So I cut my teeth in a world where if you didn't like something, you publicly protested against it. This is before cyberspace, and before the dissipation of the human soul in the blogosphere. Our videos from this program go far and wide, literally across the world. And there's a great outlet that we have that carries our episodes once or twice a week called conservativevideos.com. We promote them, they promote us. It's a great relationship. And I looked this morning at one of the episodes we did recently, one segment on Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and there was over 100 comments. Over 100 people watched it and then commented back and forth with each other. I was honored, and I'm happy for people to express their opinion. But the downside of what could be called microcasting, not broadcasting, right? Broadcasting is what we're doing here. It goes far and wide, it's broad. The danger of microcasting, which is where it's really tight and small, is that the energy is released, the anger is released, the frustration is released, and 6 or 8 or 10 people, however many people are reading the blogs that go back and forth, they're communicating with each other, and it has value, but the spirit is dissipated, the soul is dissipated, and then there's no energy left to put together a good old-fashioned protest in a press conference, out in the hot sun, in front of a federal building or in front of a Democratic headquarters or in front of a congressional office. And hence, the debate is being driven by people like Wolf Blitzer at CNN. I mean, I want you to drive the debate. I have experience. I will teach you. But I can't put fire in your soul, right? The wind of the Spirit came on Pentecost and everyone could feel it, but the fire touched down on people. We need your soul to be set ablaze so that you spread that fire publicly.